of the planet. So, with that being said, what's your take on
The Tilla planted all that into the mine.
that? Into their minds.
Okay. Did they have?
These were reptilian aliens. Some of them are, and some of them are from under the ground. The earth.
What section of what country is it from?
No, this is happening all over the planet. This is
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, we're supposed to have the ant. Okay. I forget where it was at in what country. That people were under the ground, protected by the supposed the ice age appearing. Okay. And then there was the praying mantis as well that was helping them in that one.
now, if you want to get into it now, in the ancient Sumerian myths, they had the Apokali. This is supposed to be in the area around Iraq. These are semi-divine sages, Mesopotamia mythology. Now, they're created by the god Enki, who is also known as Ea. Okay, and they were sent to establish culture and impart civilization onto humanity. Okay, now they're often described as emerging sweet waters of the Abzu, which is under the ground. Okay, that's the primeval sea, and they're credited with like teaching humans essential skills like agriculture, writing, architecture, law. Okay. So in terms of appearance, the Apkallu are depicted in three primary forms. That's the fish cloaked, and then the bird-headed, and the human-headed, and they're often with wings. So the fish cloak form shows a human figure wearing a fish skin that covers the body, with the fish's head rested atop the human head and the tail hanging down the back. Okay, now this form is sometimes interpreted as a man in a full fish costume cloak rather than a literal hybrid. You know what I mean? So
one thing that really annoys me about all of this is it's always these beings are teaching man how to do things. Yeah, i.e., humans haven't got the intelligence to be able to work these things out for themselves. So,
Well, yeah, but when they're talking about when you start construction of making blocks and all that, and they were explaining this on some of these big old places. You're talking like best way I can put it is 7 tons of a block, and how from 20 miles away, how they get from there to where.
yeah, but that doesn't happen overnight. We don't decide to start bashing rocks together, and the next day we've created the pyramids.
Yeah.
It happens over a gradual amount of time.
well, historically, that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
What? One day we woke up, start bashing rocks, and
Yes.
the next day we're building pyramids.
Yeah, but now-
really?
Look, we have no idea how they came up with the knowledge to build those pyramids, dude. It's like just one day, somebody woke up and said, "Man, I'm
Trial and error, intelligence.
Where, dude?
We are,
There was
we are meant to be intelligent beings. Sometimes I have to question that, but we are meant to be intelligent.
they had a few of them that were messed up, where it went up and then it sloped a bit up on the top."
What they call that one a black pyramid, the black pyramid that they went inside. The other one did. You know, the big old poles. They have the special where it blueprints the building by using a radar, not radar, but like infrared, where it takes
So no, yeah.
and they take it and they it looks through the walls and all the blueprints it more or less instead of doing it the old way of art where you sketch it out on paper. But they go through the whole place quicker. They do, but they winds up taking the outside of it, the depth and all that, puts it on a computer, and it shows as far as that guy goes with that pole, everything about the building, the distance, the depth, and all that. And they were showing it about the writing on the walls. First time I actually seen any writing on the walls there in Egypt on that black pyramid. And they were showing the construction and all that. Why a whole lot more than what Ancient Aliens did. They showed the thing about
Of course,
the
of course. Humans haven't got any intelligence. They've got no intuitive capability. So it must be done by external forces. It must be done by aliens.
well,
Yeah.
Let me go further with this then, since we've already got you stirred up here. So, Mr. Robot went on to say that an AI therapist went haywire and urges users to go on a killing spree.
A large language model.
Yeah.
Elsa or something. Alyssa, sorry.
Now,
Something.
he started to read that, and he thought this stuff, and he thought it was pretty wild, and he didn't know that it was actually true. When he started getting into the explanation, he started talking about Hubbard's World Future Society and how it was listed as a forecasting resource alongside the CIA and a U.S. Army psychological operation, PSYOP, manual. It was authored by Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, guy who was investigated for child sexual abuse involving satanic rituals. Now, Hubbard also cultivated co-creation of global consciousness with fellow evolution Lieutenant Colonel Jim Channon, who set up the U.S. Army's 1st Earth Battalion of New Age Psychic Soldiers. Now, that was actually the real operation prior to the movie Men Who Stare at Ghosts. And that's the weird part. Like, everybody watches that movie and they think that that's just comedy, but it was actually inspired off of real.
I have never watched that one.
oh, and there's another one. There was another movie they made, and actually was a true story. Because at the end of it, they said that they had to do an investigation because this one guy, the government was wanting to find the best way to make their army where they're more awake and for 24 hours, stay more focused and all that. And what they did is they made up this stuff, but then what they did is they inserted into the food of the military there. It was a whole battalion.
Quick question for you. Is it a true story or is it based upon a true story?
Well, based, but they found
There is a big difference there. I could say, well, I went out to the supermarket yesterday and I got beamed up to a UFO. Well, it's based upon a true story. I went out to the supermarket, which is a true factual store thing.
yeah, but what they were referring to is the group that was done to. Okay, after they got done eating and they all went to lay down and all that. Well, next few hours they all went berserk. They did and started shooting each other. And during that whole time, it was only one guy that was left.
Well, you got to be careful right there because you're actually talking about Jacob's Ladder, which was a movie that came out, and that's very controversial because a lot of people don't know for sure if that's actually based off of real incidents that happened. that goes off of Ancient Orange. The Ancient Orange experiment took place in Vietnam. And if you've ever watched Jacob's Ladder, it's real. And you really should check it out because and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a really good. A lot of people don't talk about Jacob's Ladder. That was really really good.
And about that, what you guys were talking about before, you can make someone do something, but you still have to think about it. If you know how they say you take a tape, and if you want to do something, well, like train your mind for a certain specific thing that you want done. Okay, you sit down and you record that word over and over again on tape. Then when you get ready to go to sleep, you put that earphones over your ears and listen to it when you're asleep, but your mind adjusts to what's on that tape. Okay. But if you want someone to hallucinate and all that, we're not saying that they have the ways because they've been doing that thing where they're blueprinting your mind. They're understanding the layers of your mind. Like on there, you got reptile, prehistoric mind. Like your brain's got what do you call that? Three.
Well, when it comes to the reptilian brain, you got to understand that that's actually a pseudo science. That was a theory that was brought up by somebody who the rest of the scientific community didn't really agree with.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you want someone to do something, we're not saying that you can figure out a way because you can. Like they show on there, different ways of manipulating people for however you want. Pictures. You can use sound as well.
Remember, some people are more susceptible to. Let's call it thought control. Whereas other people have got a much more stronger mind.
Yeah, but
I mean, you could hypnotize some people, but that doesn't mean you can hypnotize everybody.
Right, and you got to also refer to it as suggestion because that's a very important word.
Yeah, but we call it where
it's suggestion. Like I was telling Bob the other day that suggestions do work, but the only way that they work is they have to be profound. Okay.
Yeah.
Now suggestions are really something that people overlook. They don't think about it because freaking a suggestion, whatever, you make a suggestion, blah blah blah, and they don't understand like it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, you can use suggestions a whole different other bunch of ways. You can say something, suggest something, but it's way too like it's way the person that you're talking to. If you know certain things about how they feel about certain things, you take that when you suggest it. You suggest it in that specific way that you know how they feel about it.
Well, you don't
Some
even
manipulation rather than suggestion.
Well, suggestion is manipulation.
Well, no, not necessarily. I can suggest that you go out and have a cigarette. Just because I suggested it doesn't mean that you've got to go out and have a cigarette.
You're placing manipulation something that's a bad thing, okay? When in reality it's not bad or good, it's just manipulation. We manipulate things all the time, and it's like a suggestion doesn't even have to be spoken. It can be in your gesture, way that you freaking do things. That's how they hypnotize you.
Yeah, well, like
Okay, water.
Yeah. But you know what? We want to hear something about that? Well, for one whole week, for 2 weeks when I was in the hospital, I was a bad smoker, okay? And then them weeks that I was in the hospital, they like they say on TV about you see the pictures and all that, and